You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
I hate Windows updates.
Well, that's why you don't buy a Windows computer.
I don't like Windows computers. Hi, everybody. I got here like 1 second before the show started. Timing.
Nice.
Yeah. I've never had a Windows update happen right as I'm about to start a show. Of course, I only own Macs.
I was going to say, you live a blessed life.
Well, no, where I can tell it, hey, I want you to update between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m.
Usually, I don't know. Like, it didn't have a scheduled update at all. It just would not operate. So I'm like, all right, restart. So I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I don't know. All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Sure,
I don't have a ton of energy, so let's get to it.
Let's make sure I got the right one. No, I don't.
Nope, 2 over. There you go.
There we go. All right.
Jay doesn't do this very often. This is normally my GM.
Well, I mean, it took him one extra step, so.
No, he was all like perplexed earlier. It was good.
Oh, okay. I missed the perplexednesses. All right. Ultimate Spider-Man. You know what's so cool? I had a guy come in today and he was just getting started in the Ultimate Universe. So it'll tell you that like you can be this far in and not worry about it. Just figure it out, because the Ultimate Spider-Man trade paperback's already come out for the first batch. So it's not impossible, although it is difficult to find individual issues. It's that good, y'all. It's so good. He bought this and then he bought House and Power of X because he was like, Hickman, it's my new jam. So anyway, great stuff. Let's see, where were we last? You've got big bads showing up now. In this issue, Pete gets presented with an Oscorp suit, which was it's basically a Spider Iron Man suit. And he says, no thanks, yo. And that actually works out well for him because there is a big bad that shows up in this you haven't seen before. I'm not going to tell you anything about them. Because you'll enjoy getting to see how they operate, how they use their powers. Also, mundane things in this issue, like J. Jonah and Ben figuring out that they're because all of their articles for their online startup newspaper are mostly about Spider-Man, because duh, they have Spider-Man on the staff. It's going gangbusters, and they might be better than the Bugle real soon. So a little bit of news for you. But yeah, it's great. Continues to be good. I'm still happy.
In the last issue, we got to meet Spider, Fat Charlie's brother. If you've read a Nancy Boys, the original novel, you know that this is when things get dumb. And by dumb, I mean wild. And by wild, I mean fully, like, mythologically crazy. And so that's what's happening here. Spider is being a bad influence on Fat Charlie. Fat Charlie's just trying to grieve. Spider's grieving in his own way. And Spider takes Fat Charlie on a night out that winds up sort of being the thing that, other than their father's death, that kickstarts the downward or the downhill part of this roller coaster ride that is a Nancy Boys. So this is maybe the last sort of setup issue before the full kind of understanding of who Fat Charlie's dad was, who Spider is, and what their role is in the pantheon of new versus old God.
Revenge. Okay, just to catch you up, maybe you didn't get a Wolverine Revenge #1, which I don't know why you didn't. You should take this opportunity to go find one. Just by way of getting you caught up, Magneto EMP'd himself to death and destroyed all the technology on the planet. That's where we start, and it kills most of, like the good guys that we know, but most of other people too. So this is Wolverine trying to figure out who's left, and does anybody have the ability to create power? And he believes although he doesn't necessarily believe that Magneto is still alive, he knows that his body's there somewhere. And it's important because there's something on the body that Wolverine wants. You guys can figure this out. Because, Wolverine doesn't like being mind controlled. And this thing will help him prevent that. So, it's real dark. This is not your normal Marvel kind of bad guy of the week. This is more super bleak future, and it's awesome.
Okay. So, super quick with this one. So big man that left the group to be the cool guy has a ton of karma catching up with him in this issue. It doesn't happen till almost the end, but I mean, it rains, it pours situation with this dude. I am keeping my eye on this book, and I really, really, really need to go read the first volume of this story, because the first 2 issues of this part of it, the volume 2, have just been great. The ending of this book takes the story to a whole nother level of holy cow. This was so good. I have no idea how I hadn't heard of this before, but like I said, I still need to read the first volume, but even if you haven't, this is super easy to jump into, very new reader friendly. And it's a great vampire superhero angsty teen story. So this is Jay approved right here. Great
Jay,
book.
Is this universe tied at all to like his other, like the ambassadors and that hero?
I haven't seen anything that really ties it to anything, to be honest.
So no Nemesis?
No.
Okay.
That would be awesome though.
Yeah.
Miss Jen, sell that. That is a great idea.
I'll call it Millar now.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Gail Simone is just killing it, as always. Okay, so in the last issue, she kind of introduced this team. I love that Wolverine is part of this issue, and he doesn't even know any of their names, so he gives them nicknames like Horse Girl and can't remember who the other ones were. But they're still touching base on this whole idea that, remember in the first issue, there was he and Rogue visited someone that was on their deathbed, and they died in that issue, but also they gave kind of like a premonition or a forecasting or whatever. They told the future and basically said that one of the X-Men that they were going to, they're part of this new team, were going to be the death of everyone. And they made kind of light of it in that issue and kind of like brushed it off as kind of like, oh, he was just saying things as he was dying and isn't that horrible? And they moved on. They totally ignored it for a while. They mentioned that again in this issue. I knew it was going to be important. So Wolverine, I don't think, none of it feels like they're like distrustful of these people, that they maybe just are acknowledging the fact that something's going to happen. But this one's really great at kind of like introducing the characters and their powers and their origin stories. So if you like origin stories for new characters, this is terrific. two of them have like really crazy origins. Like one of them was born stillborn, and one of the other one was born completely without a heart. Freaked his parents out, as you would. And as part of their training, that's the thick cover is really as part of their training, their Nightcrawler puts on like a little X belt, and they say that you're supposed to, whoever can get it off of him wins the training. So pretty cool. I'm down still for the long haul for this one. It's pretty easy for me to like lose my interest in just like main X books like X Force, X Factor, those kinds of things. It's easy for me to get distracted, kind of like, Doug the dog. But I really, really look forward to the Uncanny every time. So this has still got me hooked.
Here you go, Miss Jen. Real quick before I switch over, yeah. Justin had a better answer for you.
Part of Millar World, but the way the big game ended, pretty much everything is siloed. Okay, well that makes sense.
Something strange is happening on my computer screen. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was like, did you forget whether you read this or not?
No, I have no comments.
Oh, weird.
On my screen, yeah, which is very strange. Anyhow, okay, Helen of Windhorn. We went a while without getting one of these, and then in the last 2 weeks we've gotten two. I don't know if it's just they didn't send them to Dan, or Dan just wasn't sending them to us, or what was happening, but here we are. In issue 4, Helen had basically, it was her Rocky training montage, right? Of, how you become, a great warrior in the other world or whatever. At the end of the issue, she has it taken away from her. She has a problem in that place and winds up having it taken away from her. This is what happens when you have everything you ever want and then it gets taken from you. This is a lot of that kind of grieving and that kind of interaction. But this is also the first time that the governess woman, who has been our main narrator, as far as I can tell, thus far, is sort of exposed to that world and starts to kind of understand what it may have been that drew Helen in. So you get a little bit more insight behind the curtain, but also it's a lot of, oh, I could totally relate to this from that time. I couldn't do that thing I wanted to do that I worked so hard to be able to do. So the thing I will say about this is that even when the book is a little light, like maybe this issue is, the Bilquis LV art, or Evely, however you say Bilquis's last name, art, is just crushing it. And if Chapel Roan had seen this art, it would be every t-shirt they make.
Okay, this is the one I just had open up. Okay, I do love Lobo, and you best to just better put it on your pull because it's so good. As far as we know, Lobo is not able to be killed. But he is able to like be shanghaied, it looks like. Okay, so what's fun is at the very beginning of this book, which is called the Cancellation Special, which is funny. The writer, I think, makes a challenge and says that the book takes place sometime after his first appearance in Omega Men 3 and before this special. And then says, literally, if you can figure out where it takes place, they will, I can't remember what it is, kill someone for you or some crazy, like, oh man, if you have to like do that, then it's going to be bad. Don't offer those kinds of things because someone will call you on that nonsense. So these events take place sometime in that time period. It appears that he has gotten super drunk, crashed his cosmic motorcycle on this planet, decided to destroy every being on it because he's so pissed off about that. And that's kind of the start of this story. It's very funny, very disrespectful. And in one part of I laughed so loud in the restaurant where I read, I was like, uh-oh, because I forget that I'm, not alone. Because he finds out he has to go to a planet he gets conscripted. He's like, hey, someone shows up and says, I'll get you off this planet if you will do this job for me. And I guess Lobo, if he gets hired for a job, will always do the job no matter what. So he gets conscripted to go rescue this princess. The name of the bad guy on this planet is, ready for it? Try not to die. Murder Crotch Slaughterface.
That's true.
I need a shirt. Anyway, it's so good. Hilarious. You don't need to know anything about Lobo to jump in here. Like, sincerely, you don't need to know anything. They give you everything just in the way the story rolls out. That you'll enjoy it. Murder Crotch.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. Speaking of amazing, it's a real weird thing with me. I like the Turtles. I love the cartoons. I like the comics, but there's something about when they cross over with other folks that I like a lot more. And I don't know what it is. It's not like turtle stories are bad, but there's something about when they cross over, especially when two of my favorite toys as a kid cross over. Turtles and He-Man. It blows my mind. I know they had Turtles He-Man toys, but this comic is great. So this one starts off with like April and Splinter. They're waiting on a call from the Turtles, who do so with the help of Orko. Finally, Orko's getting some love. It's my favorite. So they're already in Eternia, and Mikey, of all people, is going to tell the story of what happened. So this is kind of like told in flashback. Look, this was the crossover that I should have seen coming, and this is the reason I love comics. Things I never thought I would ever see put together. This is why I love comics. And you're absolutely right, Castle. That art is so good. The art is so good. The colors are so vibrant. This was just a great story. The character designs in this were so dope. I mean, come on, you see Mikey with hair on the cover. I mean, it's a fun book. And all I got to say is, yes, please, may I have some more of this? This is an awesome book. And if that next issue, if we get that, I'm on it. I'm completely on it, folks. If you're a fan of either one of these properties and you want to see how well they work together, this is the book to go to your LCS or wherever you get your comics and pick up. It's amazing. It's awesome.
Ooh, long Halloween, last Halloween. For those of y'all that went and participated in your Batman days this weekend at your LTS, you might have picked up the Prelude that was offered as a freebie, or the fancy foil that was also available for purchase that was based on this. Really cool. Things are going bad. It looks like the baddie from the long Halloween has re-shown up. Now my brain is going to fail me for what their name was. That's so bad. It was one of those names that made a lot of sense. Harvest, maybe? I can't remember. But anyway, he's showing back up. If you like Catwoman, you'll enjoy this because you get some Catwoman action in here. It's interesting to me because I got Tim Sale art on the front cover, and it's neat because in the very back it shows where the art came from. It looks like it was a fan piece that was drawn because, of course, Tim left us in 2022. So he's not able to draw us any more really awesome things. So enjoy this front art. And the interior art looks a lot. It's very homage-y to Miller. So if you like Frank Miller art, it has a lot of those kind of like feels to it. So enjoy trying to figure out how in the world this bad guy, which was thought to be dead, is back. Uh-oh. No sound.
No, we're good. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out what to say.
Oh.
Because for the first time, we maybe had an issue of this that I wasn't just over the moon with.
Weird, because this is the one that Kaplan was saying was going to mess people up.
And it may be the context of the day I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just it. If you love this book, you're going to love this issue. I believe that with all my heart. I can honestly say, just because I think circumstances beyond Zach Kaplan's control, this book was not good for me today. I don't believe that's at all a reflection of this issue. You have Freya out doing Freya things at this point. She is taking on her entire family, and she's going to the source of it. There is a twist at the end that to me felt disingenuous today. But again, maybe if I read it again tomorrow, I'll feel differently. But there's something that you sort of assume about their family, her family, that the twist at the end sort of befuddles that assumption, I guess is the word I'll use, sort of goes in the face of that assumption. And to me, it just screams like we're trying to shoehorn things that maybe Zach Kaplan is more comfortable with into this story. But again, I've had a pretty terrible day, and that could be weighing on this book in particular.
Ooh, Lilith. I thought when I looked at this book that it was going to be vampires, but it is not. This is demon. So this is a very interesting book. It rides the line between being lighthearted and very serious. It hits a good note for me. So you meet Lilith. She is doing a photo shoot, and the photographer's being very cruel to her about, like, you're not bringing enough, like, evil to your face or whatever for this shoot, and you're dumb and whatever. And she gets in trouble because she mouths off to him and then has to go apologize. And in this case, he thinks that means that she has to, like, perform ooh la la things for him, you know, because that seems to be always in the books. Or maybe it's in reality too, the relationship between photographers and models. But the twist is here that it's funny that she gets berated for not being able to be dark enough, because she is in fact an actual demon. And she likes to eat people a lot. So you can imagine what the rest of the book is like. Not lighthearted. It's got really great art, by the way. The art is exactly like the cover. But trigger warning for guts.
I think for this group, that's a definitely jump on this one.
It might be. This might be a castle book. Probably Eddie.
Oh, Thundercats. Not only, here's my most controversial take. Tiger is the best. I love Panthro. I love Lino. I love Snarf. But
Yeah,
Tiger,
you're wrong. Snarf is the best.
I know. But Tigra is not only on the cover of this is a heavy Tigra issue. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Tigra is so underutilized to me, and honestly, like I said, one of my favorite Thundercats. This issue, we see him kind of time travel is the best way to put it. He falls through a doorway, and we learn some not great secrets about Thundera and the leaders of Thundera that Tigra and we as the audience, I don't think we're meant to see. kind of puts that whole Thunderen culture in a new light for me. But as always, the Thundercats, it's great, and I love how certain issues are doing this. We're gonna take specific people, like we had a Wily Kit and Wily Cat one that was really good. We had a Chitara one, and now Chitara has her own comic. But I love how the issues have been focusing on certain Thundercats. If Dynamite keeps making them, I'll keep reading them. It's another great entry into this world that Declan Shalvey and team are building, and it's 8 issues, and I personally have not found an issue where I was like, that one was okay. No, they've all been really great to me, and to take a property like Thundercats, to where a lot of people I've talked to, the cartoon doesn't really hold up for them anymore. But a lot of them are loving the comic, and so am I. So again, this is my call to, if you have not read any Thundercats from this series, you really should at least give an issue or two a try, because I think you'll really dig it.
And to answer Eddie, it's exactly like the front cover is, that gradients in black, white, and red. So it doesn't read like a black and white book would, where it's real stark. It's all gradients of those things. So just think it like it washes into the whole of the image, not just black and white. And I think you'll do.
But if you have some black and white color blindness, it might be a challenge.
There's so much red in there, I can't imagine.
So real quick, guys, I was telling Jay this before. The apartment where I'm staying, if you set the thermostat for 70, it's like the walk-in coolers at Costco where they keep the frozen stuff. And if you set it at 71, it's like the swamp where Gambit grew up. So I am constantly like, I'm freezing, but also I'm starting to sweat. So if it looks like I'm dying, just know I'm trying to get comfortable.
Oh, goodness. Okay. And then y'all, this cover, y'all saw it, but here.
Goobers.
I'm out. I would normally be in, but I'm out. This cover,
What?
man.
You might like this one.
No, that's like one of my nightmares, like on the cover, that like I'm always scared something's going to crawl up my nose like while I'm sleeping, so I'm out.
Okay, so maybe you should be out, maybe. Okay, so this is a story about a bunch of, it looks like college-age guys going home to one of their friends' houses for spring break. They're only going there because there's some event that, like a family member's birthday or something. Something's happening where they have all decided that they're going to go, and it's fine. And interspersed with this, you see this like redneck guy at the bar getting drunk. He goes home, falls through his porch, and something grabs him from underneath the porch and sucks him in. Eventually, these two things go together. Think like a weird green science fiction plant-looking creature mixed with your traditional teenagers staying in a cabin in the woods, and that everything is going to go sideways. So creature feature mixed with slasher film so far. And it's all this kind of cool, like real stylized art.
It just makes me want to.
Yeah, I'm going there. Okay.
Aww.
You guys know how great Dynamite is doing on Thundercats and some of the other stuff. I feel like if they could put some of that energy towards Lilo and Stitch, it would be nice.
Maybe they're not aimed at you at your age.
Well, no, I just mean that like this feels right down the middle of Lilo and Stitch, whereas with some of the other licenses, they're expanding further the lore.
Sure, I gotcha.
This feels pretty on the nose for Lilo and Stitch, and that's not a bad thing. This is a super fun book. Every issue has been super fun. Once we got past the first 2 issues where it was just Ohana means family over and over and over again. In this issue, Lilo and her sister wind up going to space to save some aliens from a dinosaur, which is like awesome. And then there's this whole other Stitch meets Crocodile Dundee sort of storyline that I really enjoy. Because it isn't Lilo and her sister or Lilo and Stitch. It's Stitch and the boyfriend of the sister. And like, it's kind of like guys' weekend and girls' weekend. While the girls are off saving the universe, the guys are like trying to befuddle Crocodile Dundee, which I really like. I thought it was fun, but I feel like they could do so much more with the lore of Stitch if they wanted to. I don't know that they could, but I feel like it's right there, but just below the surface. And I'd like to see what Greg could do with it. Okay, big sad I didn't get to read this one. This was on my list of really want to read this week.
I might be over Maria Lovett. I don't know. Maybe it's just because, okay, so I, for myself, have a really hard time reading books when the faces for the characters are all very similar. And so it's really hard to tell them apart. And for me, this book was like that. So it's kind of hard to figure out, you know, who is who and who just said the last line and how does it apply to the next person. So you guys are smarter than me and you guys will be able to catch on to this better. So you won't have the same problem. But it seems like this is like an ancient group of, I'm assuming vampires because they have pointy teeth, but maybe no. So it's kind of, you get to see an interaction with them early on, and then it kind of jumps forward in time, and some of them appear to be old, but then one of them, you know, drinks what looks like wine, and then they look young all of a sudden. And so that also is a trouble for me when it's like the only clue that it's the same person is that they have the same length hair. So that's going to be my difficulty. I hope it gets better for that, so I can, like, you know, when you have the characters on the front, when one's red-headed, one's purple-headed, one's got black hair, I got you. But when you get inside, you'll see there's a couple characters you're like, is that the same person? So, cool book. I just need to know who's who.
I want to institute a new policy for books like that. Everyone has to wear a "Hi, my name is" badge.
There you go.
All right. Army of Darkness Forever, number 12. Oh my goodness. The battle rages on and the baby grows up. What a wild, fun ride this series has been. This one leans into humor and body horror big time. There's some body horror in this one. There's some laugh out loud moments also. I found there was a scene that happens in here that feels so Bruce Campbell Ash. It's painful, but yeah, the twist at the end of this is just chef's kiss. It really is. I've said all I can about this series. I'm pretty sure I've covered almost every issue. But if this is the final issue, what a way to end it. Or is it really the start? 12 issues and not once have I been bored. Not once. But now I really want Tony Fleeks and Rodney Barnes to collaborate on the next Army of Darkness book. Because what a win, not only for Evil Dead Army of Darkness fans, but for comic lovers everywhere. That story would print money. So just, you know, Nick, if you're watching, buddy, just saying. Just saying.
Also, just so everybody knows, our store's been chosen to be on the Feral World Tour. So Army of Darkness Forever graphic novel is supposed to be coming out close to the date when they're going to be here. So it's going to be him and Tone Rodriguez. So if you're interested in any of like either the Feral Tour book or any of those kinds of things, just let me know or let us know through the EXP so we can get you guys all hooked up.
Yes. And the solo slow clap will never end on the internet. The internet will beat that dead horse, resurrect it, and beat it to death again. So seriously though, y'all, this was an excellent book. And again, if you have even a tolerance of Army of Darkness, this is a great book to read. It really is. So Tony Fleeks and them just did an amazing job on it.
I got to take Rodney Barnes to Poe House the other day, and he signed all of my Philadelphias.
Yeah.
And then I got a commission from Trish Forstner at Baltimore Comic Con. So I need Tony and Tone to come nearby to me so I can get those commissions done. Ed, don't start with me. I'll give you time out.
I'm sad I didn't get to meet him when I went to Poe with y'all last year, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. Here we go.
Oh, this was really cool. Okay, so the premise of this book series is that there is a difference between the way American spies operate and the way Chinese spies operate, or what their purposes are, what their aim is. The way an American spy works is it goes in and tries to just like kind of surgically remove information, right? And they'll have one person trying to extract a specific thing. And the way the book describes the way the Chinese would prefer to work is like have 100 people out in the public, and their whole purpose is to get you to, if you need to tell a thing in two sentences, they want you to say a third sentence so they get a little bit more information. So they're just like in mass gathering little bits to put it all together to make stuff that works for them. So this one has a cool interchange between like this main fellow here. He's in a relationship, but he's supposed to be spying and not having a connection. But it's clear by the end of the book that he's going to have a hard time extracting himself from this really awesome person that he's with. So there's a lot of people that get presented, and you have to decide whether they're actual spies or if they're just other characters in the book. Although they get coolly introduced. I love spy stuff. This feels a bit like very smart writing. Like if you are in love with James Bond 007 stuff that Dynamite's been putting out for years, independent about who's been writing them, all of them have been amazing. This is really terrific spycraft tale telling because it makes me care about the characters, which often doesn't happen. Yeah, it is a 007 looking cover, and the interior is like it too. And if you like, good looking, this guy, comes out of the water with that, just his swim trunks on. He's not bad looking. Let's just say that.
So real fast, for anybody who's looking for this one, because it took me a minute to find it, it's actually like the Horizon Experiment, then the Manchurian.
Really?
Yeah, I went to look for the cover, and it took me just a bit because I had to put that Horizon Experiment in first.
I thought that was going to be like, how they've got Skybound and Mad. No, that's the name of the book. Okay, there you go.
Guys, I have bad news.
No!
Ernie got hoarder tendencies and probably need to get that checked out. This is Bert and Ernie Spring Cleaning, Sesame Street #2. There is going to be a swap meet on Sesame Street, and it's not like the swap meet where you go to where you can buy a bag of gas or bootleg DVDs.
Did you say bag of gas?
Yes.
Okay.
Jay knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is the kind of swap meet where you go and you swap or trade or give away things you don't want to your neighbors who do, which is the kind of swap meet you would expect on Sesame Street. Everybody's getting their stuff together except for Ernie, because Ernie can't part with things. Everything has sentimental value. Everything has, memories attached to it that he doesn't want to part with. And this is the story of them helping Ernie get over his hoarderism without having to call that show from A&E. So this is just a fun book about like learning that it's okay sometimes to get rid of things you don't use, even if you love them or you love the memory of how you got them. And that by doing so, maybe somebody else can get some use out of them and have new memories of their own with them. And things like that. This is just a good, wholesome Sesame Street book. I will say this too, just as a note. Whoever's drawing this book, maybe work on your Bert and Ernie faces. They are a little too human. It's a little creepy. Just saying. But this is a good book. Grandma Big Bird shows up. Grandma Bird shows up. And it's always good when Grandma Bird shows up.
This is David Dastmalchian. Do you guys know that?
Kniggets versus Samurai? I did not.
Okay, so it's Dastmalchian. So Knights versus Samurai is really kind of an interesting book. I kind of thought it was going to be a throwaway. I wouldn't like it because sometimes these premises are ridiculous. But it really does start as only a story about knights. It's about a guy who is fighting I'm going to call it a water dragon because it's in the water when they're fighting it. And during the fight, in which results in the demise of the dragon, his brother is killed. So it's the ultimate price to pay. But he does get knighted. And then because he did such a great job, he gets asked to go on this other quest, right? And the quest is really interesting. It's on a boat. They have to go far away. So you do not see any samurai until the very last page of this book where they're going. So I've got you kind of like the bones of the book so you know what you're getting into. It's all really beautiful art. You're going to care about the characters, which that's my kind of deal. And I'm very surprised, I will have to say. But I did like this book.
All right. So before I get into the book, I just want to mention there's a very lovely tribute to Don Perlin that's in here. Don was an artist, writer, and an editor that we lost back in May. And not only was he the co-creator of Bloodshot, but I just learned today, and I feel terrible about it, he also co-created Moon Knight.
Really?
Yeah. He was someone that felt like to me once I read this that he's been left out of the conversation, so to speak. So, in light of the recent few weeks we've had in the comic and pop culture world, I felt his name was definitely worth mentioning and putting it out there. So go and check out Don Perlin's stuff. You'll probably figure out, oh my goodness, I've been reading this dude half my life, or I've been looking at his art half my life. So just wanted to throw that out there. My review is going to be really quick on this book. It's an anthology. There's a couple of stories in here. All three of them are great. This is bloody. This is violent. This may or may not be using a newish public domain character that we last saw on a steamboat. Maybe. But I will say that the last story in this one kind of breaks my heart just a little bit, because it really goes back to, you realize that Bloodshot's first kind of comics were basically, he was a programmable like killbot. They would implant him with false memories to take out targets. So the ending of the last story just, it got me a little bit, because I was like, man, this is how he was. But Bloodshot is one of my favorite characters. He's definitely in the top 5. It's Bloodshot, Exo, Ninjak, Livewire, then Faith, and then all the other teams and stuff. Y'all know me. Every time we get a Valiant book on here, I tell you, jump on the Valiant universe. I'm a huge fan, have been for years, and will continue to do so. My last little gripe, and I'll try to make this as quick as I can. is it does say black, white, and bloodshot. The colors are only black, white, and shades of red. So for anybody who has trouble with that, this would be a tough one to read.
By the way, I think also this includes one of the stories is by a fellow retailer, Timmy Heeg from Arsenal Comics.
Oh.
So Bloodshot's not a tour guide on the Jungle Cruise?
All right, Revolution 9. Okay. There's a lot of spoilers that I could do for this, and I don't want to do them for you. So maybe I'm going to give you a loose description of the book instead of giving you any of the actions that happen in it. Because there is, like, from the get-go, some twists and turns that it will wreck kind of the joy of getting to unpack this book. Just know that it is a book about what feels like a very cultish group of assassins that are very protective of keeping them all part of the group. And they watch them as if they don't trust any of their own people. And if they have an inkling that they do not trust them any longer, they will remove them permanently in a very deadly way. This focuses in on the girl that's on the cover, a nice redhead, who is one of the soldiers. They all have names called, it's like Revolution Violet 4 or Revolution Indigo 9, whatever. So just so you know, that's where the Revolution 9 comes from. I missed it actually when I sent the names off to Jay. I just thought it was Revolution because I didn't get that the 9 was part of the title. So looks really cool, but again, in graphics, that would, if I can't figure it out from looking at it, it probably needs to be rethunk. But yeah, great book. More Spycraft.
So shout out to Magma Comics. I think this is the first time we've gotten to review a Magma book on here. Jay or I know Jen has. Shout out to Joel Elad for getting us the PDFs. Hell's Half Acre. I've been waiting and complaining to Joel and complaining to everyone who will hear that I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. 'Twas worth the wait. I really like this, even though it wasn't at all what I expected it to be. If you've read the book called Hell's Half Acre, which is a book about a serial killer, this is not that. If you are familiar with the origination of the phrase Hell's Half Acre, it's more like that. This is set in sort of the Wild West Railroad days. You could just hear Scott Joplin's, Entertainer's Rag playing in your head. All of that kind of stuff. Saloon girls and poker tables and shootouts and all that kind of stuff. Except for that, the person pulling the strings isn't necessarily who you think be pulling the strings. So,
I like those twisty ones.
Well, I mean, if you look at the cover, you could probably guess who's pulling the strings, but you don't find out that they're pulling the strings like super clearly right away. So you kind of are seeing that this stuff is happening in this town, and it's a little even for that time period in those stories, a little much. And then it's like, oh, hey, this is just how I wanted it. I need to go trim my beard now. And shine my horns, Could it be Satan? Maybe.
Looks like Loki to me.
Might be.
Eddie's got it. Satan?
Right. I did my best Dana Carvey as the church lady, but needless to say, this book has a lot going for it. And this is another one of those that I'm going to read again tomorrow and really let kind of settle in my brain and speak to me a little bit more than maybe it did today. but I'm really excited to have how good this book came out after waiting so long for it.
Ooh, The Missionary. Okay, this is a really interesting book and not at all what I thought I was going to be reading. Imagine that there is a really gigantic battle going on in which demons have decided to go and destroy all the angels. Think more militant than though, not quite as militant as Archangel 8 from AWA, but more regular, traditional, scary looking demon stuff. Mixed in there, there's a guy that we meet who's kind of a loser. So imagine he just got fired from his supermarket job and catches his wife in a compromising position with their bishop. And he doesn't have any kind of like backbone to confront her. He just kind of backs out the room and says, "Oh, I didn't see what I saw." And at that moment, a demon shows up and says, "I need to imbue you. I need to get into, do you accept me as being part of you, etc., etc." So it looks like what's going to happen through the storyline, it looks like to me, is that probably the demon in this case seems like they're very much not aligned with the rest of the demons that are doing the like strafing run, and instead is trying to redeem himself. He's like, "I did horrible stuff when I was alive, terrible stuff when I was alive. I'm trying to make good." So we'll see what this, like when you put two unlikely, like I'm a F up and I'm an F up together, that's what this is.
So this is about the production team on The Experience.
Maybe. You said it.
As the leader of the team, I recognize myself. Guys, I am traveling for work, so I won't be here next week. But I will be visiting comic shops in a city to which I am not wildly familiar. So I'm visiting shops tomorrow in and around the Baltimore area. And then Thursday, I think I'm going to Annapolis to Third Eye and maybe some other shops down around Annapolis. And then I'm heading to DC the day after to visit comic shops there. So, like, do you know how I know where there are comic shops?
You put the numbers?
People message me on social media. But then I go to comicshoplocator.com and I type in the numbers of the places where I am. And it tells me where there are comic shops nearby to me that I can go and visit and buy a copy of The Missionary and some of these other books that maybe aren't on my pull list that I want to pick up. So I'm going to call those shops and be like, "Hello, I am in from out of town. Are your hours what they are listed on the internet?" And then I'm going to show up there and I'm going to buy things. Why? Because if you spend $5 at a comic shop they weren't expecting, it can change their entire day. And if you're like me and you're really bored living in corporate housing, you need a lot of things to keep you busy. So many, many comic books for me. Comicshoplocator.com is the key to all of that.
I do want to give a heads up to everybody, just so I don't know if it's going to be the same in your neck of the woods, but there's a little book coming out called Absolute Batman, which is already at back order at the distributors. So if you have any inkling that you want to be part of that Absolute storyline, you should be adding it to your polls. So find a local comic shop using the zip code and that handy dandy tool on Previews World and let them know now, or they'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth next week.
Also, tomorrow is National Comic Book Day and Saturday is Local Comic Shop Day.
And this week is Banned Book Week.
And it's Banned Book Week. So do all the things, guys. Be literate. Don't just watch Big Bang Theories. Read a book.
Okay.
All right. We should probably wrap up or I'm just going to keep talking.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. We'll see you next time.